The Chicago Bears have added some more names to that top 30 list, you guys. Y'all want to hear about it? Keep it locked. Welcome back, everybody, to an all new episode of CHI Go Bears. As always, it's your boy John Jay, and with me once again is my dog, D Snow from the Go. What's going on, family?
Man, another day in the life. Hey, living this Bears life, just excited about everything that's going on. We creeping closer and closer to the draft, so it's just fun watching all the activities and the festivities that's leading up to the big show. So I'm excited, man. How about you?
Man, excited. I couldn't have put it better myself, man. I'm super excited. The draft season, as I mentioned before, is one of my favorite times of the
Yes,
year.
sir.
So we definitely gonna get into it and chop it up about some of these candidates. Now, last week I did a show. I did the solo act thing. I got my boy back today, so we
Yes,
good.
sir.
But
Yes, sir.
I talked about some of the names that was added to the top 30 list, and we've actually added some new names. So we're
Yeah,
gonna go
yeah.
over that again. I want to go over it with you, Snow, and if you got questions on some of these prospects, maybe we can answer some of the questions for some of the people on what kind of guys these are that are coming in for these top 30 visits.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, that is what today is about, top 30. And now, as I mentioned last week, the list can keep getting added to. So whatever we name today, it might be more names tomorrow. We're gonna come right back with you with the rest of the names. But I'm gonna go over these names real quick, and some of them again I mentioned last week, but there are additions, so bear with me. But Josh Connerly, offensive tackle out of Oregon. Ashton Genty, running back out of Boise State.
Hmm.
Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU.
Hmm.
Nick Martin, linebacker, Oklahoma State. Brashard Smith, running back from SMU. Isaiah Bond, wide receiver from Texas. And then they added on Tyler Warren, that dude, tight end
Yeah,
out of Penn State.
yeah,
Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas. And Andrew McCuba, another guy I mentioned last time we spoke, D Snow, safety out of Texas.
yeah.
So just before we get into individually, what do you think about this list of names so far? Is there anybody that's standing out that you feel like they left out, or
I mean, first of all, if they saying we gonna might trade our pick, it don't sound like it. But I guess we're
well,
just doing our due
it's
diligence.
yeah,
You
it's
still
not
got to,
a.
you
No
still
one is
got to do what
saying
you're
we
supposed to do.
definitely gonna do it. It's just
Yeah,
you
yeah,
need somebody at each tier, each level of the
yeah.
draft, just in case.
Now, of course, you've spoken and said nothing but great things about Will Campbell. So hey, that's a nice pick to look at. I mean, I love Aston Genty. I like what we're doing. Everybody that we're looking at is guys that can add on to what we've been doing this offseason and what Ben Johnson is trying to create this team to be in the future. So I'm excited to see, the guys they're bringing in. We're not looking at, guys that might go third or fourth. We're looking at guys that are in the first two rounds. So we are looking to
Yeah,
make some things happen. That's what it looks like to me.
yeah. There are some third round names like McCuba could be a third round pickup.
Hmm.
Rashard Smith, possibly. Nick Martin, not sure.
Okay.
Um, But you're getting a little something from each round,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind seeing some guys too brought in that could be in the lower half of the first round, just in case you trade back.
Of course. Of course.
Um,
Yeah.
there's definitely some names out there that haven't been that's not on the list that I'm looking forward to seeing. But let's start with this list, D Snow. The first name I mentioned, offensive tackle Josh Connerly out of Oregon. Now, if you follow, I know you're not the biggest in the college football, but anybody that followed Oregon know this year that they were number one for pretty much the entirety of the season.
Okay.
Um,
Oh yeah. Number one offense. I know that for sure.
yeah, but they was the number one overall ranked team all season pretty much,
Okay. Okay.
with the exception of a couple weeks. But Jahdae Barron was their starting left tackle. He had 929 snaps at left tackle.
Mm,
Um, 887 the year before.
mm.
Now he had
I,
3 snaps at left guard, 2 snaps at right guard, but this guy is a left tackle primarily.
I mean, and I'm about size. I mean, he's 6'4", 315. hey, moving around like a shooting guard in the NBA. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see. Maybe he can push and make some competition out there with Braxton. Maybe he can
100%.
can push him, and that's what we're looking for. We need guys in the trenches fighting and making our team tougher. So I like it.
Yeah, and now 6'4" is a little bit on the small end to me, short end. I typically like my tackle to be 6'5" or higher, but
Hmm.
the guy has the measurables.
Yeah.
315 pounds. He's got the weight. He's got the arm length, and he's got the athleticism. So I'm
And I
not
like the
too mad
experience
at that.
in the division and in the conference he played in. So he played
Yeah, that's
against,
Big Ten now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He played in the Big Ten. I always call it the best conference out there right now. Y'all can
Yeah.
argue with me in the comments.
No, honestly, I'm with you, and I watch a
Yeah,
lot of Big Ten football. I watch SEC football too, being out here in Texas. They talk about
yeah.
it a lot, but hey, I'll stack the Big Ten against the
Oh yeah.
SEC any
I
day.
mean,
So
adding
yeah,
those
at
adding
me.
those teams from the Pac-10. Oh, that did nothing but strengthen the Big Ten. So
The
shout
last
out to
two,
our new front office lady that we brought over that did that.
yeah.
Hopefully she
Plus
can shake some things up for us.
our president did it too. Kevin
Yeah.
Warren, he
See?
was the
Yeah.
president of the Big Ten.
Love it.
Um, but yeah, and our last two national championships, Big
Oh,
Ten,
yeah.
Michigan and Ohio
Didn't
State.
think about that. Okay.
Um, yeah. So definitely a fan of Josh Connolly and D Snow. I think this is a guy that you can get with that 39 or 41 pick, quite
Okay.
possibly.
Okay.
This might be a second round target.
Okay.
Um, so I like the name. I like the skill. I like the fact that you are bringing in somebody that's going to compete with a Braxton Jones.
Yeah.
Because I'm not ready to fully give up on Braxton Jones, but he does need somebody that's going to push him.
Yeah. Competition does make guys a little tougher. Iron sharpens iron.
100%. So next up is that dude. That dude, everybody knows the name. We've said it over and over again, but Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. So the Snow, the kid played in 14 games last year, 375 rushing attempts, 2,595 yards rushing, 6.9 yards a carry, 29 touchdowns, D Snow, 23 receptions for 138 yards. And if you don't sleep on this man's hands because the year before he had 44 catches for 578 yards. So he is a legit receiving threat in the backfield. Little undersized at 5'9", but strong, 211. So the kid, he's got that it factor, D Snow. I know you're a big fan of Ashton Jeanty, so go ahead and talk about it real quick. What do you think about him as a prospect?
I mean, of course, with running backs, you always worry about the miles on those legs, and he has carried that rock, and he's been in a lot of plays and in a lot of big moments. He's played a lot of games so far, but we are starting to see, a turn in football when it comes to running backs, and you want to make sure that you have one of those feature backs that can do both as well as block, and he has to have that size and he has to have that experience, and this kid has it. This kid has the pedigree that you're looking for. I'd love to get him. Of course, we don't want to, risk too much for him. But if he's there, of course, we want to bring him in. I think he'd fit great in that offense. I think he'd make, our quarterback's life a lot easier. With this line that we're creating. Especially we both know we probably grab another lineman. Sometime in the draft. So I think he'd be great. But like we both said, there are some other names out there if we have to move around and make some things happen. Because I do want that defense to be good. But if we can't get him and still get the other pieces we need, I want to bring him in.
Absolutely, and I will second that, and I would just add to it that a lead back is very necessary. It is a huge part of Ben Johnson's offense. So
Yeah.
to pair him with DeAndre Swift, I think will set your offense to another level. Um, but next up, D Snow, we got that left tackle. Now there's a little bit of controversy with this one. I'm talking about LSU's Will Campbell. And the controversy is some people think he's a tackle, some people think he's a guard. So when he showed up at the combine, his arm measurements was like 32 and 3/8 or somewhere around there. But then he just did his pro day and his arm length measured in at 33. So
Mm.
somehow, when he measured in at his school, his
He stretched
arms
out a
grew.
little more.
Yeah, he's straight. Yeah. So
I
that
love it.
but anything below a 33-inch arm length is not ideal for a tackle, and those guys usually get kicked inside to guard. So that's the question with Will Campbell: is he a tackle or is he a guard? He's been a very, very good tackle, a great tackle, neither dare I say. Um, but that arm length, it matters. I mean, he's
Hmm.
only played left tackle. So that's all he know. All his tape is from left tackle, and he's only given up two. He gave up 2 sacks this year, none the year before. So this is one of those dudes, but question marks on that arm length, East Snow. What do you think about taking a guy that's got his pedigree, but with that risk of not being able to cut it at tackle
Hey,
because of his arms?
we always talk about coaching matters. We've seen guys come into the league as one thing and then they flip into something else. So I really look at him as a guy that can either play either position. Plus, I love size. I mean, 6'6", 324. I know we talk about the short arms, but another guy that played in a very good conference. He's played behind some good quarterbacks that we've seen put up some good numbers. And I mean, nothing but good things have been said about him. So I don't have nothing against the kid. Of course, that's probably a later round type guy that maybe we can get. I think we might end up getting him. I think he might end up being in the house if he's available at the time we want to get him. But hey, either one of those guys, man, I feel like right now it's rich when it comes to offensive linemen, especially because they're talking all of this stuff about they not going to do this and not going to do that. But once those quarterbacks start going, and then all of a sudden the good defensive guys start going, it's going to be some nice offensive linemen left in the 30s and in the 40s when it's time to pick. So one of those guys will be available. And I think as long as we don't, cough up our pick and go get Abdul, I think he might be available for us. But yeah,
Yeah,
man, I'm hoping that the chips fall in our favor and things can go our way. Get a little bit of that, Chicago Bulls and D Rose type situation.
I can dig it. I can dig it. And yeah, Will Campbell and Ashton Jeanty so far are the only two names, and there are two more names that I'm gonna mention later. But these are the only two names so far that are potential top 10 picks.
Okay.
So that's also something to think about. Who are the top 10 pick candidates so far?
Right.
Genty and Campbell. But next on the list is Nick Martin, linebacker out of Oklahoma State. Now, this is a guy that's probably going to be late fifth, sixth, seventh round type. 6 foot 220, red shirt junior. He only played about 5 games this season.
Okay.
So not a lot of production this year, but last year he played 14 games and
Okay.
he had 102 tackles. So maybe the Bears are thinking maybe this guy could be a diamond in the rough. And we talked about the need at linebacker. Not
Yeah.
a lot of people are talking about it, but we could use some help at your linebacker after losing my boy. I can't even think of his name now because he gone out of sight, out of mind.
Roquan.
No,
Okay, that's who I miss.
yeah, that was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so this guy is not a big name, but it's more of a potential guy. You got any thoughts on Nick Martin, D Snow?
I mean, he ran a 4.5, 40. That's
Like
not
that?
bad, when it comes to what we're looking for. I feel like I said this probably in one of our first couple of episodes. I think that was the one when we had Emmanuel with us. I mean, I miss having that linebacker that can man our defense and be all over the field. I know, it's not always easy to find a guy like that can make it happen. But, I'm hoping that we do, bring a guy in that wants to fill that role and wants to fill that position, fill those shoes. If you're a guy that want to be great, you look at the greats on the team that you're going to and you say, look, I want to be that guy that's mentioned with those guys. So we do need a linebacker. I mean, he is a raw talent, like you said, but we do need to get some guys out there that can fly around and that can make this defense a little bit more faster and stronger.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. So the possibility is there. I
Yeah.
like the idea of that. Um, but then moving on, running back out of SMU, Brashard Smith, D Snow. Now this is a guy that his projections are probably fourth or fifth round. Um, But this is a guy that had a lot of production, D Snow. 1,300 yards, 1,326 yards off of 232 attempts, a 5.7 yard a carry average, 14 touchdowns, 41 receptions with 337 yards.
Mm.
So this is that versatile, multi-purpose possible Jamar Gibbs type player for the Ben Johnson system. You
Okay.
know, this is the speed guy, 5'10", 196. So not just looking at the bruiser, D Snow. They looking at some speed too. What do you think about the name like Brashard Smith? Someone who's played right here in my backyard.
Yeah. Well, of course, we look at the offense that Ben Johnson ran when he was with Detroit, and the type of things he had, the pieces he had, the weapons he had, and we can both agree that that kid that couldn't stay out of trouble at first, but once they got Gibbs, not Gibbs, that's the running back. What's the wide receiver, the little guy? I always forget his
Jamison
name.
Williams.
Yeah,
He's not
yes,
that little though. He like 6'2".
yeah. I mean, but he's a small in stature guy. He doesn't weigh a lot, but he's fast and he takes the top off of that defense. And you gotta have those guys. We both know that. You gotta have those
Absolutely.
speed guys that can get out there and not only take the top off, but they got to be able to catch the ball. So you need some guys that are experienced in making some plays. It's going to be tough in our division. This is the blue and black division. So, I like a nice tough guy from Texas. They play football out there. That's what they do. So I don't have a problem if that guy falls to us. But of course, like you said, that's probably a guy we get later, depending on if we decide to give one of our picks for more picks. But they're bringing him in for a reason. So if he's available, we might see him come in the house too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought in two running backs. It's not ideal. I don't expect it, but we haven't dealt with Ben Johnson yet, and we
Yeah,
know how important running back is to his system. And not only that, some of these guys could double as return men. We don't
that's true.
have anybody set in stone for that return position yet, even though we brought in Duvernay. Nothing is set in stone.
Yeah, and I've
Um,
heard that about him that he would be great at that position. So there's a
yeah,
chance he might end up in our room regardless.
Yeah, I think so. But the good thing about Brashard Smith, this is a guy that started off his career as a wide receiver for Miami, and he
Okay.
converted to running back. So he's a receiver
Oh,
first.
okay.
So somebody like Ben Johnson, I think, could get real maniacal with a guy like that.
Gadget plays.
Yeah. So don't sleep on Brashard Smith. That is an interesting name who I will be watching out for. Um, but in addition to that, another Texas guy, this time from the University of Texas, wide receiver Isaiah Bond. Now this is a receiver that's a little bit more smaller in stature, probably a second or third round guy. Um, but he's 5'11", 180 pounds. But this is one of those, like you said, one of those speed receivers for the system, D Snow. Maybe like a Jameson Williams type of guy. Not as big as Jameson, but that type of player. What do you think about the name Isaiah Bond, Snow?
I mean, like we both said last episode, the only bona fide wide receiver out there is going to be he's going to be gone in the first 10 picks. But these other guys, there's not a lot of tall wide receivers out there in the draft this year. So and we both know 5'11" isn't a bad size. I mean, we've seen some bad wide receivers be under 6 feet. So it's not saying that we can't get a guy that can't come out here and put in some work. Plus, we are expecting whoever comes in, he won't be a focal point. So you'll get a chance to really get some open opportunities. So like I said before, we need some guys that can not only make plays, but be good with their hands. And I think that's what we're looking at. We're looking at guys that don't turn the ball over a lot, guys that we can trust if we do put them out there, to kick return or punt return or on those third down situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even really care about how big the receiver is. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we got Roma Dunzy could be that's our big guy, our jump ball guy.
Hmm.
I care more about some speed. We need somebody in the slot that's going get in and get
Hmm.
out. So I like the idea of an Isaiah Bond. Although he's probably more of a deep threat guy than a slot, but if you get him to play deep threat, you can move DJ Moore to the slot, and
Hmm.
he would be a killer at that position.
And that's the thing we have to always remember. We have two nice number one wide receivers right now. So anything that we add is only going to make things easier for them. And the guys that come in, like I said, they're going to have opportunities because the defense is going to try to double those guys on certain plays, and those kids are going to get opportunities whoever we bring in. So whoever it is, you better be ready.
Absolutely,
You better be ready to get the
absolutely,
ball because Caleb is going to be letting that thing go.
absolutely. So now, D Snow, we go with these next two names. We back up into the number 10 possibilities. top
Okay.
10 draft pick candidates. And this is that dude we've talked about a lot on this show.
Okay.
Um, Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. Y'all
Yeah.
heard the stats. My man played in 16 games last year. 104 catches for 1,230 yards, 11.8 yards a catch, and 8 touchdowns, D Snow. That's that dude, 6'1", 260 pounds. It's one of them Gronk type of dudes. You put him and Cole Kmet back together, you got a couple twin towers at that tight end spot, and you
Hey,
don't mind so much with not having a solidified number 3 receiver if you got two tight ends like Kmet and Warren.
yeah. I mean, but we both know, man, that kid'll be gone. Hey, there's no way he's gonna make it to us. If he does,
I don't know. I think it's very likely he's there at 10. I
if
think
he's
it's
there
a
at 10 and
very
we
likely.
grab him, I mean, I would not be mad about Aston Genty because like I said before, I said that last week. I've been starting to do a little research, and hey,
Warren, Tyler
the
Warren,
white
not
kid is
Genty.
serious. No, I'm talking,
Tyler
yeah,
Warren.
yeah, Tyler Warren. The white kid is serious. Yeah, he's Gronk with a little bit of all star in him. He don't mind getting dirty. Yeah, I know that's a running back, but we're talking about a big white guy that didn't mind getting his hands dirty, getting in there, with the big nasties, and we need that. We need some guys that can. Caleb got hit too much. He was on the ground too much last season. We need them to protect him, and we need to make people think second. When they tried to come in there, with that speed rush, we need guys to knock them guys off their pivot. So
Yeah,
I
and
would love a guy like that.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's one benefit of having that two tight end set is you got
Yeah,
an extra blocker out there. You got an extra blocker and some protection for
and
Caleb.
then
So
they
we,
can slip and catch too. So
yeah.
I think he
So
would
yeah,
complement Komet very well. I think that would be nice. We would love that. Hey, you see, I ain't got nothing but great things about everybody we bring up. Hey, Pose, keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing nothing but
it's a
making
good
Bears
list.
fans like you.
It's a good list so far. It's a good list so far. I'm not mad at it. Um, but moving on, the other name that is a possible top 10 pick in this selection on this list is cornerback Jahdae Barron out of Texas. Now, Jahdae Barron is one of them dudes, D Snow. Jahdae Barron had 5 interceptions a year ago, a 34.2 passer rating against this kid. Played in 16 games, 5'11", 200 pounds, senior. So,
That's yeah.
depending on how you feel about um, Stevenson, if you're the Bears,
hmm
we haven't heard Allen talk much about him, Tyreek Stevenson.
Yeah.
I think that there's still hope for the kid. He only 2 years in. But a guy like Jahdae Barron, he come in, he definitely taking Tyreek Stevenson's spot.
That's a
5
grown man
picks.
right there. And he's 23. He's a grown man. He's not a kid coming in. He played in another kid that played in a great conference, played in some really big games, and in those big games he showed up. And that's what we need. We need guys that are, we need that, that Jalen Ramsey type cornerback. I think we got that a little bit in John and Johnson.
Yeah.
But I feel like we need that we need that identity on defense. We need that. I feel like the offense is starting to try to find something, and I think Ben Johnson's going to bring that. But our defense, we gotta get back to those monsters of the midway. We gotta have some guys that's hawking. We got to be turning that ball over, and we got to be making some plays. So I mean, I like him. I like him. I think it would be a great addition. I wouldn't be surprised if he went off the board early, but because cornerbacks go fast. We're seeing
Yeah.
that's where the most money is starting to get spent. When it comes to free agency. Cornerbacks are getting all the money. So if you can bring in a kid that can, play at that level, and not have to pay him the first 4 years, oh man, you got to do that. You got to do that. Your defense gotta have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish
Now
we had
I'm
two
not
picks in the first 10 like last year.
nah for real. Now I'm not as big on bringing in a corner with that top pick, but like I said, it depends on how they feel about Tyreek Stevenson. If they're not sold on him, then Jahdae Barron would be a wonderful pick. Um, 5 picks in the Big Ten. I mean, the SEC. I can't get mad at that at all. I wouldn't be mad if they took a guy like that.
Yeah.
But I think that there are other better positions that you could tackle, at least in the top 10 for
Okay.
me personally. But like I say, that dude is a stud if you do wind up with him. You would have a hell of a secondary. You pair him with Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson, ain't nobody throwing on him. Ain't nobody
Sir.
throwing on you. Um, but then the last name I want to mention, D Snow. Now, this guy is probably a third round candidate, but this is a name that I like a lot.
Okay.
And I'm talking about safety out of Texas, Andrew Makuba. Andrew Makuba, and let me see how many. He played in 15 games. He had 57 tackles last year. He is 6 feet, 190 pounds, a senior, 22 years old. And why don't I have how many picks he had last year? But while I look this up, D Snow, talk about what you think about Andrew Makuba.
Hey, another kid that played on that stout Texas defense. I mean, we saw those guys, man, really show out in
5
some
picks
big
also.
games. 5 picks. He matched
Yep.
his backfield mate out there on the defense, with 5.
Yep.
So, I
5
mean,
picks.
hey, it was hard to throw the ball on those guys, and we saw those guys really come up and make big plays. I mean, hey, like you said, it's rich in certain areas where we needed this in this draft. So no matter what, some guys are going to fall us. As long as our coaching does its job, we're going to be straight. We would love to have the big flashy names, but if we don't, and we could plug in a couple of these guys that we're looking at now that they're bringing in also, we're gonna be straight. I think we're gonna look good this year. We're gonna finally start to get above that 500 mark where we belong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if a guy like Andrew Makuba is available in the third round at that 72 spot, um, Pro Football Focus got him at about 90, I believe his ranking. Um, but if you brought in a guy like that, D Snow, I'm all for it. Like I
Oh yeah.
would run to select him in the third round. Um, is safety a huge need? It might not be your biggest need now with Byard and with Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker, but Byard is getting up there in age.
Hmm.
Brisker had some injuries last year. He had a concussion late in the season and never came back last year. And as much as we love Brisker, he
Yeah.
misses a lot of games. So you might have to start thinking about a replacement or at least depth. And a guy like Andrew Makuba, they look
Hey,
real nice.
and we got to remember this too. This is Ben Johnson's team now. So anybody that was already here, even though some of these guys might be guys that Ryan Poles bought in, hey, he's looking to put his team on the field. So
No
we never
doubt.
know what he's looking at that he feels like he might look at the cornerback or the safety position and feel like he needs to add somebody there or add some competition there. So I want to see what he's gonna do. I can't wait to see what moves are made so then we can really talk about the team we have and get excited for the preseason after that.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's going down. Oh, and while you're at it, if you ain't did it yet, go ahead and drop a like. Subscribe if you ain't did that yet. Because if you haven't, why? Tell me in the comments. Why haven't you subscribed
All
yet?
it takes is a push of a button. We have 44. We need 50 to go live on. Hey, we want to go live on draft day. I was
Yeah,
looking at
yeah,
draft day hats.
yeah. So, yeah, ladies and
So yeah,
gentlemen,
yeah,
like
please.
we've mentioned many times before, this being a brand new channel, we got to have a minimum of 50 subscribers before we allowed to go live, and we want to go live and kick it with y'all on draft
Yes,
night.
sir.
So help us run it up real
That way
quick so
y'all
we
can
can
have
get
y'all
out there
drinks
and
with
hang
me,
out.
you heard?
Yeah, so we can hang out and chop it up with you,
Yeah, yeah.
react to these picks live and in living color. You dig? Um, yeah, that'll be a fun watch along. But D Snow, you got anything else before we get on up out of here, man?
Hey man, if we can get to 50 before the draft, maybe we'll give away a Bears hat or something. We'll see what we can do, man. Some
Uh
little
oh.
small token to our fans to show y'all how serious we are, man. We want to show y'all that we serious and we love the Bears. We know y'all do too, man. Hey, it's free for y'all to like, comment, and subscribe. So, man, hang out
Yeah,
with us, man. Y'all
yeah.
already
That's
kicking it. Let's
well,
let's
look, y'all.
hey, let's be family.
That's big money, D Snow, y'all. I want y'all to hop in those comments and say, "Pick me,
Yeah,
Snow." Hop in
yeah.
those comments and say, "Pick
Now,
me, Snow." Keep
now,
it
when you
going.
get the hat, if it don't fit, it ain't my fault. Everybody head is different sizes. You know what I'm
You can come
saying?
with that snapback, that one
Eh,
size.
you got to get the one with the elastic band in it. We got some big head fans. Hey, we love y'all, Chicago,
No
and
doubt,
everybody
no
not in
doubt.
Chicago, all Bears fans, man, because we know we all over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, like he said, all y'all Bears fans, We're going to keep rocking with y'all as long as y'all keep rocking with us. And we certainly appreciate the love and support we've been getting. Before we get on up out of here, ladies and gentlemen, we just want to let y'all know we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. And we'll catch up with y'all later. Peace.
Oh, gotta remember to do my big OC.
Yeah.
Hey,
Keep it a
catch y'all
buck,
next time.
Chicago.
Hey, stay
Be safe.
dangerous.
Yes, sir.